Hello guys and gals, and welcome to a brutally honest review of Dark Souls Remastered. So if you guys don't know, Dark Souls Remastered is on sale for $20 on the Nintendo eShop, as well as I'm sure it's on sale in several other places. And what I'd like to do is go over the game just a little bit for those people who are just now diving in for the first time. As you can see, I've actually played multiple times, and this save file here, the Sherwood save file, I've beaten the game completely. Took me about, as you see, 54 hours. I kind of unlocked more things than just beating the game, though, so that was on my part. I probably could have beaten it a little bit faster than that. I never used any of the summon abilities where you could summon people to come help you. I never really quite understood it, to be honest, and it's kind of a pain in the butt to navigate anyway. So one of the first things I'm going to point out right off the bat is the A and the B buttons are swapped, which may infuriate many of you. So you don't press A to enter, you press B to enter, and you don't press B to cancel, you press A to cancel. That's just a little quip right off the bat, and if you play for a little while, it's going to be something that you get used to. If you're wondering why my camera is off, I can't get my camera to sync properly with Elgato. I think it's the camera. I don't know why. But anyway, so I want to go over a couple things with this game. For those of you who are thinking about buying it, and those of you who, you know, might give up on this game before you even try. Now, when you first start out, you're naked. I have equipment because this is not my first playthrough. This is my second playthrough. So when you actually, spoiler, when you actually beat the game, you get to play again on a harder difficulty mode than before. Let me see if I can... I gotta get used to this B thing all over again, I swear. Alright, unequip. I'm just gonna unequip everything for right now because I don't want... I want to show you guys what it looks like when you're naked. So when you start out the game, you don't have any armor or anything. You just kind of are this evil little zombie creature monster guy, and they don't really give you much to go on where to go, like what to do, how to play. A lot of people would say that the game doesn't hold your hand. But it's more than that. The game deliberately throws you into a world where you're likely to go the wrong way and die. Horrible and painful death. And you don't really necessarily know that you're going the wrong way because the game isn't that difficult. Like, I'm going to show you one of the most common areas that people who start out this game will go to and they end up dying. And it's right over here. This is the graveyard, and in the graveyard you see those little bone skeletons like just like scattered about. Well, as soon as you go down here, they pop up and they come and try and kill you. They are more difficult than you can handle at the very beginning of the game if you have never played the game. And what I mean by that is that the game is very much a game kind of like Mario Brothers. So in Mario Brothers, you die in 1 to 2 hits. In Mario Brothers, you tend to lose your life when you're not paying attention or when you're not patient. A lot of the times in Mario Brothers, you have to memorize the way that a boss, you know, behaves so that you can beat him. And Dark Souls is very similar. You have to learn the boss's mechanics, and usually once you learn the boss's mechanics, you could literally beat the boss naked punching him if you want to. It's just a matter of patience and knowledge. So one of the things that you have to do in the game is you have to take your time and learn the enemies. In fact, right in the very beginning, I would recommend that you practice things like the backstab ability and the ability to block with your shield, because both of those are going to be very useful to you in the future. There's very difficult enemies like the Black Knights, for instance, where backstab and blocking are very, very useful. Now, one of the things I want to go over with this game, though, is that this is your checkpoint, okay? This is what's called a bonfire. And the bonfires are sort of tied into the lore of the game, so they kind of make sense as far as, you know, what checkpoints are. But at the same time, they're very poorly implemented. And what I mean by that is that a lot of the times they are so far apart and so poorly placed that you are forced to redo and rehash content that you've beaten multiple times. It's one of the things that I definitely did not like about the game. It's not necessarily a difficulty of any kind. It kind of reminds me of Dashie. I don't know if you guys watch Dashie on YouTube. He was playing a particular level of Mario Maker, and he was stuck on one jump. Okay, it was just one little jump he was having trouble with, and when he failed the jump, he died. But to get to the jump, it took like an hour and a half to get to the jump. And every time he got there, you know, if he didn't succeed in the jump, he failed and had to spend another hour and a half getting back to the one thing that he was having trouble with. He wasn't having trouble with the level. He could do the level in his sleep, but it took like an hour and a half to get there. And you know, he literally at one point he just kind of broke down and he was like, look guys, he was like, I can't. He goes, it's not that I can't beat this level. He goes, I can. He goes, but it takes so long just to get back to this point to practice this jump that I'm having trouble with, that it's like he said, and he actually said, he's like, I've been recording for 17 hours now. You know, trying to basically get back to this one jump, do the jump, and then fail, and then have to start all the way back at the beginning because there was no checkpoints, there was no shortcuts, there was no nothing. And granted, this game isn't as bad as an hour and a half back to the bosses, but it sort of is. So when you start the game and you get to this first bonfire here, do yourself a favor and do not go into the graveyard. Except for to maybe run in there as a mad dash to pick up items and come back. The skeletons are not really worth fighting. They don't really give you anything that great early on in the game, and you're not really set up to fight them. So in the very beginning of the game, your health and your defenses are extremely low. And it's set up like that on purpose, because what they want is they want you to die. Plain and simple, they want you to die, and they want you to die a lot. So they basically have set up your character to have the lowest level of health possible, and in the process, you know, one monster or two monsters can take you out with ease. This is something that you can fix as you level up your character. So I'd like to show you the leveling system, which is not explained, not even in the least. So as you gain souls, you go up to your bonfire here, and you choose level up. And in here, you can spend your souls to level up your different attributes. Each one of your attributes is going to give you different things. As you see, I have 32 in endurance here, 40 in strength, 40 in dexterity. It's because I was going with a sort of what is it called, like a flex build or something? I can't remember the name of it. I used to play around with all kinds of builds. And the main thing you want to do to start out with, honestly, is just get yourself some more health. The monsters hit so hard in this game, and your health is so low at the very beginning, that it's half of the difficulty is just simply the fact that you just don't have the health to fight anything. I liken it to some of the people who love to play Legend of Zelda, like Link to the Past or games like that, and they deliberately avoid getting the power-up, you know, the heart power-ups, so that they only have like 3 or 4 hearts or whatever the minimum amount of hearts that you can get in the game is. And, you know, there are monsters in Legend of Zelda that can hit you for 4 hearts. They're bosses, of course, but they're going to hit you and kill you maybe in one shot. And that's a level of difficulty that they're choosing. But in this game, you literally start out with like 1 heart. And just about anything that's not a starter monster can finish you off with ease. Starter monsters are like the ones over here. And you'll understand what I mean, because later on when you actually come back here as a leveled up character with some gear, you'll realize that these monsters here are absolutely nothing. Why you gonna punk me like that, sir? Now, this is actually the harder difficulty mode than the original. I don't exactly remember what the second difficulty mode is called. But I do remember that it continues. So the more you go up, the more times you beat the game, basically the more times you have higher difficulty modes. Like I said, these guys are essentially the starter monsters, and come fight this guy. How about that? You want to fight him? As you can see, they're not exactly that difficult to run away from or to dodge. Are you guys done? I forgot it doesn't even pause the game when you hit the start menu. Another one of the difficulties in this game is the fact that the gear doesn't really mean much. So there's actually a pretty funny saying that it's not called Dark Souls, it's called Fashion Souls, because apparently your gear doesn't really matter at all. So you pretty much just choose what looks best to you, because you could beat the game naked if you wanted. Now, I found that as you leveled up, the gear really didn't make that much difference, but I still preferred particular pieces of gear, just simply because they were, how do I put it? They had like specific move sets that I enjoyed. So, for instance, as you can see, I've got quite a large number of weapons here. The Halberd, I really enjoyed playing with the Halberd, and I can't really tell you exactly why I really love the Halberd. I think it was because it had quite a nice reach, like on the attack, if that makes sense. And it had a nice sweep too, which was kind of nice. Each one of the weapons has like a different way that it attacks. Like some weapons are very straightforward in the way that they pierce. Some weapons are sort of an overhead. Some are a swing. And the reach of the weapons is all different. Now, even though the gear doesn't really matter that much, the weapon that you choose is going to be more to your specific playstyle. Let's see here. So, I also wanted to talk about how easy it was for you to play the game once you actually learn it. So, in the beginning, before you actually know how to play, before you know how to dodge attacks, before you know how to utilize backstab, before you know how to utilize your shield properly, the game is kind of difficult. But once you actually learn those mechanics, once you actually take a little bit of time and you practice, well, dang, sir. I didn't even mean to attack you. So once you actually learn the attacks, it's actually not so difficult. And the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of people, when they start out, they're so intimidated by the fact that the game is difficult, that they don't really take the time to learn. And then there's other aspects that are problems as well. Like, for instance, let's say you just start the game, you go into the graveyard, you start fighting the skeletons, which you're not really even supposed to fight. There's very little room for error with the skeletons. So if you fight them properly, Anyway, so once you learn how to play the game, you're going to find that it's actually quite easy. And once you realize that there are actually wrong ways to go, you'll also find that it's actually quite easy. because once you realize that you're not supposed to go those ways, it actually becomes much easier to realize, hey, this is not where I'm supposed to go. So one of the other aspects about the game which is mildly difficult is the retrieval of your souls. So when you die, you drop your souls on the ground, and your souls are used for leveling up your character. Now, what I recommend that you do is just spend your souls a lot. You don't really need to save them up. Level up your characters. Get your health up, like I was talking about earlier. This is going to help you out immensely. And what I really want to say about this game is that despite all its faults, despite the fact that it has a horrible checkpoint system, despite the fact that it seems to almost deliberately go out of its way to sabotage you by putting high-level areas next to low-level areas, by not telling you anything that you need to know about the game, including the leveling system or how to play your character, or it's honestly, it seems like the game developers just decided they were going to sabotage any newbie's efforts from learning. A lot of people say that it has a very high learning curve, but that's not really so much it. It's like, imagine if you were to go into a classroom and the teacher, instead of teaching you the right way, he deliberately teaches you the wrong way, and then you have to figure out on your own that the teacher is lying to you, basically. And once you figure out that the teacher's lying to you and you start to put the pieces together, you realize, oh, well, this game's not that hard after all, when you actually know how to play. But everything is hidden from you in such a way that to find out the answer, you have to die. It could be called very simply a learn by dying game. I've explained it to people that way before, is that you don't learn until you go and you die. You go find a boss that you've never fought before. You go in there, she murders you horribly. You learn a little bit, you go back, and, she murders you horribly again. But the mechanics of each boss are actually pretty easy to learn, once you've got a few attempts. And the areas are really cool. The game has held up really well, despite the fact that it's quite old. And, this is the Nintendo Switch Remastered version is just like one of the latest releases of the game. I do feel like this version is probably one of the best, because I do remember trying to play this game on PC back in the day, and I had a lot of trouble with the frame rate issues. There were other issues that made it very difficult to play on PC, and this Nintendo Switch version doesn't have those problems. So anyway, guys, do I recommend to pick it up? Yes. It's on sale for Black Friday right now. I think it's like $20. But, don't go into the game just completely blind, because honestly, this is the kind of game where they deliberately, they love it when you go in blind. And they love it when you go in blind because, quite honestly, that's the whole shtick of this game is we're not going to teach you anything. We're not going to hold your hand. We're going to deliberately lead you in the wrong way, and you've got to figure it out for yourself. Don't get intimidated by the game. It's not really that difficult. Spend a little time, learn the move sets, figure out how to do the backsteps, figure out how to block with the shield properly. And, if you figure out those things, you're going to do pretty darn good. If you don't, if you just smash your head into the screen over and over again, and you don't take any time to actually learn, the move sets, or pick a particular weapon that you'd like to use, or you're gonna have a hard time. And it's not necessarily because the game is hard, but it's just you're handicapping yourself, I would honestly say that if you've had a lot of trouble playing this game, or maybe in the past you just could never get past a certain boss or something, look up some game guides if you need to. There's a lot of people on YouTube that do tutorials on this. They have tutorials on how to backstab. They have tutorials on how to use your shield. They have tutorials on the best way to build your stats. And they go over the advantages of certain weapons. you know, over others. Honestly, I just kind of picked my favorite weapon. You guys might be saying I picked this Halberd because of, you know, particular ways that it behaves, but honestly, you know why I picked the Halberd? Because I used to play Lord of the Rings Online, and the Halberd was the captain's main weapon in Lord of the Rings Online, and I just wanted to be a captain. That was literally why I picked the Halberd. As soon as I found the Halberd, I was like, yes, I got a Halberd, and I just put the Halberd on, and that was it. And then I leveled up the Halberd to, I don't know, what was it, like plus 14 or whatever? And I just had fun with it. It attacks very similar to the way the one attacks in Final Fantasy, in Lord of the Rings Online. It has a stab, just like in Lord of the Rings Online, and it also has a sweep, like the one in Lord of the Rings Online, so I thought that was cool. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this brutally honest review of Dark Souls Remastered, and I hope that you decide to pick up the game. Just go in knowing that the game has flaws, and just work around them, because quite honestly, the game is worth working around those flaws, if that makes any sense. You don't necessarily need to have a perfect game to enjoy it. The people who made this game, the first one, they didn't quite have the best ideas. Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 have a much better checkpoint system. They're a little bit more difficult in actual difficulty, as opposed to just simply what I would call artificial difficulty. Wasting someone's time is not difficulty. Wasting someone's time is artificial difficulty. If I make you have to walk around the house 10 times before you try to eat an ice cream cone, then I'm just wasting your time. I'm pretty sure everyone in the world can eat an ice cream cone. You know, even people with no hands probably have some little attachment devices they can use and hold the ice cream cone up to their face. It's not that difficult. But making me walk around the house 10 times before I'm allowed to eat one is just wasting my time. Unless you're trying to say I'm fat. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this little review on Dark Souls.